Welcome to episode 2 of Pass the Baton. I am your host, M.R. Mahale. Some of you might know me as Gina. In today's episode, we will be discussing mastering relationships and your mental health in the creative industry. It's very important that when you start and or continue with your music career, you actually master your relationships as well as you look out for your mental health. Now, your mental health will always be very closely related to your relationships. Number 1, know who are your friends and who are your colleagues. So, the biggest kill factor in this music industry is people getting lost in the sauce. Where you're new in the industry, you get exposed to famous people, you start hanging out with famous people, they come into your life, you walk into their lives, so you kind of get lost in the hype. And so many people have gotten a very rude awakening that your industry friends, there's a popular saying that industry friends are not your friends. So they learn a bit later on that people in the industry are not their friends. That's why it's very important for you to have discernment, like who's your friend and who's your colleague. Don't mix up the two. The people you work with, your management, your team, your entourage, the other creatives, those are your colleagues, they're not your friends. It's not impossible that you can have a friendship develop out of meeting people in this space, etc., but it's very rare. It's very rare. So it's essential to have that discernment to separate the two. It's almost as if you need to have a circle of people that you communicate, you move about with, etc., in your space or in your role as an entertainer, as a musician, etc. And then you still have to have people that know you personally before or outside your role as a musician, etc. Be your friends, be your childhood friends, be your family, people that ground you, people that you are certain for sure that should shit hit the fan, these people will always show up for you. So we have seen numerous times where people complain that people in the industry are not your friends, etc., and they learn the hard way that these people are not they're not grounded like that, they're not legit like that, and they tend to fade away when things are not so great. If you're gonna walk into this industry, you better have two separate lives: your personal life with your personal people who are your friends, your family, as in a personal support system, and then have a work support system, your colleagues, etc., people that move in the same circle. Don't mix the two. The moment you mix the two, that's where you will go wrong. 2, have boundaries. I know a lot of people, when they hear this term boundaries, oh my god, they thinking, you gotta be timid, you gotta be stiff, you're not easygoing. No, that's not what boundaries are. Boundaries are 2 things. It's permission. They are permission and access. So be very mindful who you give permission to and what you give them permission to. It's very closely linked to having the discernment to identify who's your friend and who's your colleague. And based on that kind of identification, you can then decide who gets what kind of permission and what kind of permission they're getting, and what access you're giving, and what you're giving access to. So you wouldn't necessarily be giving your colleagues access to your personal life. The same way you cannot necessarily be giving your personal people access to your professional life. You see, these are 2 different lives, different roles, different responsibilities, different boundaries that need to be implemented. So have boundaries. It's very important. So boundaries exist to regulate the relationships that we have so that they do not become abusive. Yeah, when you don't have a boundary, when you are just the nilly-willy person and you don't have those boundaries in place, everybody has permission, everybody has access to everything. You're gonna get abused. You're going to get taken advantage of. You're going to be prey. So it's important. And you're going to be isolated, because life is a very funny journey. It has its ups and downs. So if you don't have that discernment of who's your friend, who's your colleague, and what boundaries to put in place, you're going to find yourself isolated without a support system, people that you can lean on or hold on to, or people that will anchor you when times are a bit tough. So it is to your benefit to actually apply this, because in turn, again, when you have a solid support structure, whether personally or professionally, your mental health will be in great benefit. So where does your loyalty lie? So many people in this music industry are not loyal, and that, in my opinion, is one of the reasons our music industry started to turn upside down. There was a period, I think it was around about 015 or 014, where artists started suddenly record label hopping or artist management hopping, etc. These people are not loyal to the people they worked with or worked for. They were not loyal to their investors. They were not loyal to their craft as well, and all these things. And so what it did is it created some sort of a dynamic shift where suddenly things were not very comfortable, and investors became a bit more cautious in investing. People that signed became a bit more cautious in signing. Artist managers just were exhausted mentally as well to be taking on new talent that they feel their loyalty is not guaranteed to them, that they would then in turn benefit. So if you're an act in this music industry, ask yourself, where does your loyalty lie, and commit to that loyalty. If you're not loyal to anyone, not even the people in your team, there's a problem. If you're not loyal to yourself, there's a problem. So you need to check, where does your loyalty lie, and also introspect why your loyalty lies there. You need to have a clear anchoring answer as to why you are loyal to such a team member or a label or an artist manager, etc. Or your craft. Like, why are you sticking to what you're doing? It's important, because if you don't have loyalty and you just go with the current, it's gonna mess with you, and it's gonna mess with everybody else that works with you. We are in this era, or rather phase, where most of our participants in the music industry are jaded because they got betrayed. When these people, they had entered into agreements with certain people they were taking on, working with, investing, whatever it was, and they get betrayed and they don't get the return in their investments. And a lot of people get jaded. A lot of people, or it's a situation where you're not credited, or the business has been mishandled in a certain way for a certain kind of a job. A lot of creatives are jaded, and I'm not speaking in particular in regards to musicians only, but even the people in the back end, your artist managers, your publicists, your labels, etc. They themselves too have been jaded or are jaded because of the disloyalty of artists. Myself, I have encountered this, where I would deal with artists and they will frustrate me with their disloyalty, and that would in turn cause a regression to each of our goals. So have loyalty and have an anchoring reason why you're loyal there, and watch how that will in turn blossom your career as well as your mental health. 5, understand that whatever you decide to do affects those that are tied to you. Others' careers and aspirations and or investments are tied to you. This also references back to the topic I talked about in the previous episode, where it was one of my points, that you need not to be bad business. The moment you're bad business, nobody wants to touch you. And so for you to not be bad business, you also need to get into the mentality to understand that whatever you decide or do affects other people. The general public look at an artist as a sole entity, but there are people behind that artist. There's a publicist, there's a label, there's an artist manager, there's an A&R, there's a booking agent, there's a photographer, videographer, there's many people, stylist, you name them, that many people are tied to that one artist. And so if the artist makes a very non-beneficial decision or action, it affects everyone. Each one of those people that are behind that artist, they're not only behind the artist because they like the artist or because it's their job. No, they also have their own personal career aspirations. So when you're a letdown as an artist, you are letting down multiple people. You're crushing multiple careers. So when you're an artist, you need to be a very self-aware, selfless boss. You need to be a selfless boss, that you understand that somebody's career is dependent on me. Somebody's family to be fed is dependent on me. So you need not to be reckless. So many artists are reckless. So many artists are selfish. And this in turn is what then caused a lot of people in the back end to be jaded. That's why it's a bit difficult now for you to walk up to an artist manager, a publicist, a label to say, hey, please help me. They'll look at you crazy like, why should I help you? Am I the Samaritan? No. You need to be very aware that every decision you make affects other people. It's not just about you only. It's not about you. Let alone even the music you put out. It's not about you. It's about other people. The music you put out, you're putting it out for other people. You're not putting it out for yourself. So every single decision and action, has nothing to do with you alone. No, it's not a solo journey. So don't be bad business by being considerate. And lastly, be mindful how you end relationships. Our music industry is riddled with politics. In the last episode, we talked about the importance of knowing the politics and not participating in the politics. But yeah, this links to it as well. Our music industry is riddled with politics. Wherever there's a relationship, there will be a politic developing, okay? And however though, if you at any point or conjecture find yourself that you gotta end a relationship, be mindful how you end it. Most of our creatives become very careless with how they end relationships. There's this term called the beef. Many of our creatives beef with the people they were in relationships with, and that in turn causes a constraint in how the work flows. Because if you're beefing with somebody, they're going to be spiteful, okay? And rightfully so, by the way. They're going to be spiteful by making sure they block your way, or wherever they will exercise their power to block your way. So be mindful, and also be a very fair person. A very common example, I will take it from years ago. I don't remember. I think, yeah, so there's this hip-hop show called The Hustle. I'm pretty sure some of you do know it. And so there was this year we had this kid called Flex Rabanyana, and he went on. And at that time, The Hustle was in partnership with the record label 5th Season. And if I remember correctly, one of the terms was that, the winner of The Hustle will be signed to the record label. And also there were certain sponsorship deals with brands that had come on board that needed this certain contestant that would win the competition to take up the role of being an ambassador or being the face of, and have all these contractual obligations. So what happened is this kid won the competition, and then he refused to be signed. He refused to be signed, and he was talking about how he wishes to pursue an independent career, etc. Where is he today? Many of you in South Africa might know his journey. Where is he today? Now, I'm not saying anything or implying anything in regards to 5th Season or the owner of 5th Season, but I'm just saying, thinking about it rationally and realistically, without any biasness, that kid was very unfair. He knew the rules from get-go. He knew what the outcome had to be from get-go, and he entered the competition. Now he caused all these companies to incur a loss. Yeah, all those people that were involved in the bringing together of that show, for it to be put together, the production, the broadcasting, etc. All those people invested with the intention on having a return, and they had dictated the kind of return and what they wished to get out of it. But that one kid, when he won the competition, he decided to be bad business and not fulfilling his part, and then going about to actually end the relationship in a rowdy way. And so that affected everybody else. It affected everybody else that was involved, that had invested. A lot of companies, including the label, lost out. So he was not mindful in how he ended the relationship. This very much links to, being mindful of that whatever you do affects other people. You see, these things are very interlinked. Relationships are very important. So, yeah, man, he was not mindful of how he ended the relationship. If he was reasonable and fair, he would have, signed the contract, signed to the label, or even attempt to negotiate that his term of being signed to the label be shortened. Whatever, as long as they fulfill their contractual obligations, and certain people have that were involved have the outcome that they had signed up for. I'm pretty sure most of the people would have been okay with an amicable agreement, and they end the relationship on amicable terms. But no, it was a mess. And in turn, it affected him, and in turn, it affected everybody else. So be very mindful Okay, because now when you are out here beefing with giants that you shouldn't be beefing with, you're beefing with people that have influence in the industry. You become depressed because your career is going nowhere. Things are not turning out as you had envisioned. Be very careful. In closing, I'm gonna say this. There's a saying that is very popular where people say it's business, it's not personal. Well, take it from me. Business is very personal. So don't you ever for a second think that anybody participating in business is not going to be personal with you. They will. So don't mess with them if you're not trying to get the personal touch or effect or outcome. Those are my tips and advices on how to master relationships, as well as maintaining and protecting your mental health. Be very careful how you do things. Be mindful, be considerate, and act respectfully. And I promise you, your music career will be very peaceful. All right, that's it from me to you. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.